What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, the lethargic loser here, and we are back with episode 119 of the video game therapy series. If you can't notice, if you're watching this on video, I am playing with shaders on this time. I got my hands on the elusive 4090 graphics card, so I'm giving it a bit of a stress test, which I guess Minecraft probably isn't the game to be doing that with, but it is what it is. Runs it pretty well, to no one's surprise. Anyway, I had one of those days, and maybe you can relate to this, maybe you can't. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit. Maybe you can relate to this, maybe you can't, but it's one of those days where pretty much everything that you touch in any just completely blows up. I don't know what, it just happens every couple months, maybe give a year or so between them, but I had one of those days where everything I touched just turned to complete shit. And I've spent, the better part of a week or so unraveling the disaster that I caused in a matter of hours. So namely, this had to do with this time I was screwing around with my hard drives on on the new computer, and I guess there was like a power surge or something. By the way, if you don't care about computers, I would zone out the next 5 minutes because I'll be kind of venting a little bit on that, just because that's part of the function of this is my platform. I get to vent. But yeah, I think there's a power surge or something that fried the hard drives. So, like being the idiot that I am, I fried my main 8 terabyte hard drive and the backup, which was backed up I think about a month back. So I essentially lost. I think there was only about 4 or 5 terabytes on each. Which is the reason I'm not panicking and all my progress is lost is that I did have it all backed up on a remote server that I set up, which is nice. But now I'm kind of left without those hard drives, and I'm waiting on the new ones to come in. I also tried my hand at repairing them, which, being the novice that I am, of course, did not work out. But maybe it will. I'm still kind of holding out hope that I can salvage the old hard drives by replacing the PCBs. But I suppose we'll see. But yeah, that debacle has still kind of left me hanging, I feel like, this whole time, because I have all these like text shortcuts. So like when I do have most of everything I have on my computer from the terminal. So like I'll type in different commands to the terminal and it'll take me to different text files. It'll take me to different applications and things. And a lot of the files are, of course, on my hard drives. But then the hard drives not being mounted and not having them has kind of left me to just like, I guess, be loose with all my files and have them all in my downloads folder, which is not the hygiene I like to employ in using my computer. I like to keep things clean and organized, and it has not been great as of late on the computer. But I guess the graphics card is nice to this point, but I don't know why the motherboard hates spinning hard drives, because it has murdered 2 of them. So I'm going to be careful about the next ones I get, and hopefully don't brick those as well. But either way, just one of those days where everything is just kind of ruined by yourself, and you're mad at yourself for the better part of a week or so. I guess that too, I am also feeling a bit lethargic. I feel like I'm like 40 already, like I just somehow aged 20 years in a matter of weeks. Because I played basketball and lifted, and then all of a sudden, like, I feel like my back is going out, like one of my hips is hurting. There's a big bruise or something. I don't know. I just feel like I'm getting old. It's just one of those things, and it's a hilarious thing to say, of course, as someone who's not old in any sense of the word, but certainly feels that way. But anyway, I'm sure I'll get back to my youthful and limber self, and hopefully in a better attitude next time that I get my all my files backed up and everything good on that again. But anyway, I have my little ad hoc text file with a few things to discuss today. The first of which is that it is hard. It's kind of difficult to position yourself properly in this, I think, because it's hard to get most people to care about what you care about. So whatever that is, whether it's youth soccer or data privacy, most people just don't give a shit about whatever you care about, which is kind of to be expected, right? Because of all the things that somebody could care about, the odds of them aligning exactly with what you care about is relatively low. That being said, of course, hopefully there's a reason you care about what you care about. And it's not just like a childhood fantasy or something kind of I'll say like obviously unimportant, which is difficult to say because on a very low level, technically nothing you care about has any meaning at all. Like you can't compare I don't know, a Game Boy collector to a, political activist to a cybersecurity criminal. You know what I mean? All of those have the same level of like not like meaninglessness in the grand scheme of things. But one could argue that socially, or at least outside of the context of their own doings, the political activist and cyber criminal have more influence around on the world and, around their surroundings and other people than would the, Pokemon collector or whatever the hell I said. That being said, I think it's fair to at least assign some value or some judgment of value in saying that somebody who collects, Pokemon games or whatever, is probably doing less, I'll say, in terms of productivity than someone who is, I don't know, being an ethical hacker or something like that. I don't know. Whatever other hobbies and things exist. That being said, things that you care about are related to, not the same as your hobbies, but they're related to your hobbies. So people that don't care about, your things, for example, if you are a data privacy advocate, like I would be, it's kind of hard to like say that people should care about what you care about. And is it then my job even to then try to influence people to care about what I care about? Even, given that, of course, I think it's important, but is it necessary then that I should impose whatever power or influence I have on others to then get them to care about what I care about? So same with like politics, for example, like suppose you're a political leader of some kind and it is kind of, I guess, innate with your job description that it is your job to kind of get people to care about what you have to say. That being said, I, could very easily argue that I'm arguing for something more important in terms of data privacy than you are on your little like political agenda or whatever that be to get you elected to something. Not to say you wouldn't have more influence or there might be, some jockeying in terms of who is more influential, but it's hard to say outright that just because you're in a realm of politics and getting elected and forcing other people to care about your worldview, that inherently your worldview is more important than mine. But we could both agree on the fact that the guy collecting Pokemon cards or whatever is pointless. At least with regard to like what we can say is a value judgment. Anyway, it's just hard to know precisely what it is that is like, I guess, how hard to push in terms of getting other people to care about what you care about, and how much of it should just be like a solitary thing. Because obviously, I can write free software or whatever. I can use free software. I can advocate for free software in a vacuum, and no one has to ever care about anything I do, and that's fine. And I never have to even try to get other people to care. But to what extent should I be trying to get people to care? And there's nuance with this. It's not totally black or white, but it is hard to go about, without being crass, imposing my worldview on other people, and forcing them to care about what I care about, of course, without giving them the same reciprocal care, because of many things I just don't care about and I won't care about. And there's very little, if anything, that anyone could do to get me to care about it. Even putting a gun to my head, I would do it purely out of reluctance for getting shot, versus actually giving a fuck. There's a difference. And you can like, that can be the way that you view getting other people to care about what you care about, is just essentially holding them hostage. But, of course, that's a pretty heavy-handed approach and doesn't bode too well for, the long-term vision of your philosophical ideal. Whereas mine, because it is very philosophically rooted, would be a more passive approach to get you to, organically care about things that I would care about. It just feels weird because I just don't like influencing other people. This is kind of the way I look at it, is this is a libertarian streak inside of me, I suppose. I would almost let people, allow them to dig their own graves in a sense, where it's not like I wouldn't, if, a friend genuinely needed my help, I wouldn't go out of my way to help them, change their behavior. But preemptively, I would do very little to change someone's behavior until they wanted to, right? Because, ultimately people don't really, whether they know what they want or not, or know what's best for them or not, a lot of them won't ever change their minds until they themselves like change their own minds. And as much as you might want to change their mind, a lot of times you can just dig them deeper into, a hole of cognitive dissonance where you're not doing anyone any favors, because they're deeper entrenched in their horrible worldview or their destructive behavior. And you've now alienated yourself from them as a friend. So I'm on the boat of allowing people to, which I say dig their own graves. An example of this, which, infuriated me. I was eating dinner with some family at an Indian restaurant. And Indian food is known for being a bit on the spicier side. But I also know my spice tolerance, and I'm aware of what I can handle, and that might be different than people in my family. So I ordered, my curry or whatever I ordered. It was some kind of curry, and the waiter was like, "Well, how spicy would you like that on a scale from 1 to 5?" And I'm like, "Oh, let's do like 3 to 4. We'll do that." I think that's because I do like a little kick when I'm doing that. Part of the appeal of having that meal in the first place is the kick. Of course, my I'll say uncultured family was very quick to go, "Oh, no, he can't handle that spice. No, give him like a 1." And I said, first of all, I'm ordering my food, and whether or not, suppose it is a mistake and that I'm going to have, a horrible time in the restroom after this meal, that's still my fault. I should be allowed to dig my own grave and have my own problems with this. Don't impose, what you think is best for me. Even if you did think it was best for me, or you thought it was, I was making a dumb decision by doing that. Don't interject yourself, especially in a trivial matter like a meal. I understand if I was like, oh, I want to, go into debt to buy a mansion of some kind, or like a pet dolphin. And they're like, well, maybe you shouldn't buy a dolphin because like, you don't own a pool. Like, why would you buy it? Like, you're not gonna have anywhere to put it. It doesn't make much sense to buy a dolphin. I would understand if they're interjecting and say, maybe he shouldn't buy the dolphin. But like ordering spicy Indian food should be like literally like auto, like fine, do whatever you want. Like I don't care. But the fact that it was interjected was like, I don't know, it was appalling to me. And of course I got the food and it wasn't spicy enough because, the waiter was like, well, maybe we should just give him a 2 or a 3 or something. I wanted it spicier, of course. So I was very infuriated in that. But that was an example of allowing somebody to dig their own grave, even if it is against what your opinion is or wishes are. And again, like I said, there is nuance. Like if I were buying a pet dolphin, I would not be surprised or at all like angered by people going, "Wait, maybe why are you buying a dolphin? That doesn't make any sense. Do you even have an interest in dolphins? You have no skills or abilities to work, to feed or care for this animal. Why are you doing that?" Which would make sense. But again, spicy Indian food, who cares whether or not I can handle it or not? Let me find out the hard way. It's whatever. What's the point of life anyway? Anyway, but I do think I would give people that even openings in like, suppose someone wants to, and I've even have had to make value judgments on this. And like, should somebody leave their job to start their own business? Because I've had a foot in working with entrepreneurs, especially in the earlier stage, and often it's my opinion that like, what they're doing is stupid, or they aren't well equipped, or in the right position financially or personally or intellectually to solve this entrepreneurial problem. They probably shouldn't leave their day job, especially if they value the nicer things and they enjoy their little consultant salaries or what have you. I've been on the side of saying, well, maybe it's probably a dumb idea, but in general, I also want to give people the benefit of the doubt because they won't believe me until they've already failed. Do you know what I mean? Like if I told them like, oh, this is a dumb idea, you shouldn't leave your day job, like this is never going to work. They won't believe me until they've already wasted, their 8 months out of the job and they've failed. It doesn't work, whatever. But at the same time, I'm not like, I'm going to put my neck out to make sure they don't do this. I'm almost going to let them say, you know what, fine, you can learn it the hard way. I understand that you need to know this for yourself. That's okay. I get that. And I'm simply putting my opinion forth that I think it's a bad idea, but I know that you may need to prove that to yourself. So I'm going to let you do that. I'm not going to, I'm not going to put up even more barriers for you to do it to make it harder if I know that you're dead set on doing it, especially if they're stubborn people. Other people are more amenable to convincing them, talking them out of dumb ideas. But many aren't, especially ones that, I guess think they're entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs. Which, by the way, that the word itself and the whole like business of it is, people don't realize how like bullshit most of those companies and things are. Most of the like raising money and raising the company's worth $4 billion. People tend to miss the fact that a company can be worth $4 billion on paper and do absolutely nothing. And I'm not even saying like even like well, they're like a compliance software. Or they do something like, maybe it's nothing in terms of a tangible, but they provide services. I mean, they like literally do nothing. Like you can raise a lot of money and have no users, no product, no revenue, nothing really. You really just have nothing. You have like vague ideas. Ideas themselves can somehow be worth billions of dollars. Now, that's not right, and it's not sustainable. And ultimately, it comes back to bite them in the ass, like sooner or later. Which my advice to engineers that get in on those on these deals is to just only accept cash and to get out as soon as possible. If they're going to raise that second round or whatever to pump their valuation again, as soon as they raise, you sell and you get out. Because the chance of them having legs is slim to none. And a lot of these early companies, even ones that end up being worth $1 billion, are again don't do anything. They don't make bread. They don't. I mean, they don't clean toilets. There's nothing that they do. It's just complete folly and bullshit. It's just like a bigger idiot scam, because they have, one set of investors that are idiots that bought into it. And then they use that investor money and they're like, quote unquote, momentum to then sell to other investor idiots that are also morons. And it ends up just being this big, like almost Ponzi scheme-esque level of like, there's nothing going on here. There's no users. There's no actual path to like a profitable company or even a company that's like has a sizable chunk of the market. It's just their company is nothing. It's all fabricated bullshit. And we've seen this time and time again with these Forbes 30 under 30 people that, either have to literally fabricate their users and data or find other creative ways to make the value of their company go up. You can point out examples where it's like, well, this company doesn't do a lot on paper, but they're still worth a lot of money and there's like a huge upside. But my argument would then be just, okay, wait, give me 5 more years and tell me if this company's still around, or what ends up happening with this company. Because a lot of them, they point to these examples of like, oh, this guy raised all this money and everyone told him he was stupid. And now look at him. He's on the top of the world with his SaaS company. But it still could come back to bite him. Maybe you're hyping him up at the top of the cycle. And there's only a matter of time before, again, he's exposed as for what it is, which is a complete nothing burger of a company and a product. It'd end up in jail or something, or 6 months in a white collar prison or whatever it is that ends up happening to these people. But I guess people don't really, I don't know, appreciate the level of bullshit that is present, especially in the Silicon Valley startup types. Because it's all just kind of this bigger idiot scam. And, I guess it's kudos to you if you're scamming the bigger idiots, but at some point, like, you're either scamming the idiots or you are the idiot. And it's kind of hard to know who's who at some point. So I don't know. It's bullshit. But anyway, move on to something else here. This is an interesting. It's not even interesting really. This is just like an opinion I have. So I was a caffeine fiend for a while, and I kind of go in phases of being a caffeine hound. For a while, it was in energy drinks, and then it was coffee. I've always been black coffee. I'm not a big sugar coffee guy, although I do see the appeal. Getting into coffee early, I kind of had to have sugar, but it was quick before I got back onto just black coffee. And iced or hot is both good. But I think one opinion I have about coffee is that it differs from what I'll say other caffeine supplements or I guess ways of getting caffeine into your body, is that you have to almost be relaxed to enjoy or to truly get the most out of coffee. I feel like if I'm ever in a rush and drinking coffee, it almost doesn't even do anything, right? It doesn't even have the effect. And it's also just a miserable experience to be chugging coffee or to be stressed out and drinking coffee. I feel like coffee should exclusively be and is a kind of a relaxed caffeinated beverage, which is again kind of antithetical to what caffeine is because it's a stimulant. But I do think it is special in the sense that it is much like, I can enjoy and relax and enjoy a Monster. I'm not saying I can't, but in general, coffee is more amenable to the like slow enjoyment type of caffeination versus other things. I could, a Red Bull or a 5 Hour Energy or something like that. I suppose you could crush those, or other, caffeine pills. Is another kind of degenerate way of getting caffeine in. But I think coffee is just interesting that it is almost the most relaxed type of caffeine into your body. So I don't know, just an opinion I had, and hot or cold, I think both, again, almost not even require, but both kind of request that you enjoy them slowly and calmly. I guess just to get the most out of them and to utilize their benefits. I just never gotten much out of like speed chugging coffee. I don't know. It just hasn't been it just hasn't worked for me. So I don't know. Which the same can't be said for other types of caffeine. But anyway, it's kind of my dumb opinion. I'm one thing I am more bothered by now, and I mean this is going on for a long time. This is probably not the first one to say this either. It feels like, and this is just in the U.S. too. I don't know what's happening in other countries, just because I don't live there. It feels like every holiday now is just an excuse to sell chocolate. I mean, it's just every single holiday is now every store you go into when it's near the nearest holiday is all just chocolate based. Which Halloween, I'll give the pass to because it kind of is the whole trick or treat thing, but it should be about like more of the costumes and things. But the chocolate is kind of a secondary, big part to Halloween. But like Valentine's Day now is all just about chocolate. Christmas, all about chocolate. Easter, all about chocolate. Like every single fucking thing is just now chocolate. Everything, every holiday now is just how much Hershey's can we sell to the masses? I mean, just every single shelf that you walk into, it's like Easter aisles, all just chocolate shit, and it's all just some other creative way of getting chocolate into your mouth. Chocolate or just candy in general, maybe chocolate's too narrow, but regardless, I just feel like every holiday is now usurped by the need to sell sugar, and it's bothering me because of course every store can't, there can't just be like there's nothing going on, we don't have to like, there's no sale, there's no like big holiday going for it. It's always like, okay, now it's St. Patrick's Day, and we have to like, St. Patty's Day themed, chocolate, 4-leaf clovers. It's like, what is this crap? I thought chocolate, St. Patty's Day is about drinking, I'm pretty sure, not chocolate. Why are we selling chocolate now? And Valentine's Day is supposed to be about love, and now it's like, it's just so even like materialist how that's become, where it's the material is now sugar. It's not even like you're buying them like a useless vase or something, or like a dress, or whatever crap people buy each other. But now it's just like it's reduced to a consumer of consumables and chocolates and sugar. What holiday is about selling fruits and vegetables? Can we have one of those? Maybe we should make Easter about bananas and oranges and things, because you look at what's on sale, like if you go to Walmart or wherever you shop at, wherever the holiday is, it's all just filled up with sugar. There's not anything even festive in there. It's just like sugar packaged in whatever color the holiday is. Easter, St. Patty's Day, Halloween, Christmas, whatever. Christmas chocolate. I think chocolate is not even on the list of what Christmas is about, or sugar. I mean, maybe like a whole like Santa thing, but like I don't know. I guess being a fat white guy eating chocolate chips shouldn't be the foci of the holiday. Not to say it has to be a religious thing either, but surely we can focus on something other than just selling sugar to people. To people who don't need it already. I don't know. I was just bothered by the amount of how every holiday now is just reduced to its ability or its propensity to sell candy to people. Or children especially, because that's who gets excited about this stuff anymore. Yeah, let's see. Let's look at something else here. Something else that I thought was just a funny thought that I had was that so these AI companies will show these demos of especially like these humanoid robot types. So if you've seen like Boston Dynamics, there's a lot of like spin-off companies that do similar things to Boston Dynamics, but they're more or less just humanoid robots that run around and do, they do human stuff. They do flips, and they do, humans, but it's more impressive than humans because it's a robot doing it, of course. But Boston, when I was thinking of all these demos, they all show them like, oh, you'll never have to do chores again. Which, by the way, you should be like, why is it that is what the demo is? Why is the demonstration? Look, you don't have to fold your laundry anymore. You can make this robot fold laundry. I think folding laundry is even if you don't enjoy it, which I happen to be the kind of person that does enjoy folding laundry, but even if you aren't, you can't deny the fact that it is a good, solitary, short activity that can just leave you alone with your own thoughts for a few minutes. And it is good just hygienically to practice doing things. It's like almost just like having a robot wash your hands for you. It's like, shouldn't you? That kind of needs to be just a fact of life, that you have to wash your hands, and you don't need to have some way to automate it or to not do it, because like every kind of chore is bad. It's like, I think that's actually the case where it's a good thing to be doing some kind of chores. Washing your hands being one, or folding laundry being one. But I would not be, and this is where the joke is, I'm not impressed until like you can make one of these dumbass humanoid robots, like work through like a call center, help center. Like you have to get, you have to switch insurances. And so you have to call your insurance provider. But of course, they fired everybody, or laid them off to a third world country. And so now you have to like just argue with somebody who doesn't speak English about something and get them put on hold for an hour and a half. Or like, how about like rebooking an airline? You know what I mean? Like have a robot do that and sit on the call for, 3.5, 4 hours and work through the same bullshit customer service, waterboarding technique that the cartel mastered and shared with Delta. Because that's essentially like that would be impressive to me. And those are the stuff that I truly would hate doing. Like if a robot started doing my laundry for me, I really wouldn't be that happy. And we already have washing machines, by the way. So most of the washing is done. Like the only part left is just the folding, and which I think is the part that we should probably keep, or at least is the least annoying and kind of relaxing and meditative. But that's actually what I want done for me is yelling at Delta for fucking up my flight, or whatever, or screaming at a car rental company or insurance, or arguing with a lawyer about something. I don't even know all the bullshit that like people actually don't want to do. None of those demos ever show any of that. It's always stuff that like I think we probably should be doing. Like cooking a meal. I think like why. I guess it's like cool and like I guess quirky that the robot can cook a meal, and it's like, oh look, he made a, you know, uh, you cooked a fillet, I guess medium well, bleh. But really, why wouldn't I want to do that? I feel like I should be doing that, and like the robot should be doing something else, you know. It's like the next thing you know, it's gonna be like, oh look, the robot can fuck your wife for you, and you don't even have to do it. It's like, but I should be doing that. Why are you doing that for me? That's part of the life that I want to be living. Why are you taking that away from me and giving it to a robot that is not feeling it? That doesn't feel anything. It's bullshit. It's kind of the way I look at that. So I'm just kind of sick of the demos that don't think about what they're showing. They're showing like it's sorting apples into bags. And I realize it's because it's like a simple activity that like proves like the concept of it being able to do something simple. But that still doesn't beg the question of like, why are you making it do this and not something else that would actually be impressive? Because like, yeah, I realize it's not that like, it is impressive that a robot can like sort, a red apple from a green apple, or whatever using its camera, which again is not that really, I guess it's kind of impressive, but it's not useful at all. And it shouldn't be something like we're excited about using. That shouldn't be the use case that we're thrilled about. Is like doing routine menial tasks. And again, I think what I would argue are kind of good for us as humans to do some of that ourselves. Like washing dishes and things. We should do that. We have a dishwasher already. I don't need a robot to do that. So anyone who runs one of these dumbass AI companies and is planning your next demo to show to investors or, the morons who are pre-ordering this stuff, do us all a favor and pick something that is actually impressive. Like have it do something on Windows 11. You know what I mean? Like something that's genuinely difficult to get running and is an actively frustrating experience. Have it do that. I want to see it like actually deal with some of the modern frustrations of, or even like filing your taxes. Give it a sheet of paper and make it. I'm not talking about TurboTax. I'm talking about giving it the sheet of paper or have it use Windows 12 or whatever the bullshit crap and have it actually file taxes. Like with the pencil and paper, with scanning it and printing it and mailing it in, getting it wrong, whatever. Have it do all of that. And then I will be genuinely impressed. Of course, getting on the phone with the IRS and they're arguing about, $4 that you missed or something like that. And they're going to sue you for $1 million. I mean, whatever. Again, use your imagination. But the idea that like it's impressive that it's like putting groceries away. It's like you should put your own groceries away, or buying groceries for you. Like go, how much of a lazy piece of shit are you? You can't go buy your own groceries. I don't know. I was bothered by every single demo. None of them show anything that's meaningfully impressive. It's all just like impressive in terms of its conceptual ability. Oh, it can do this, but like not in terms of what actually you'd want it to do in a real life scenario. It wouldn't save me any time if you had it fold my clothes. It would save me 8 minutes. And is that worth, $48,000 that this robot's going to cost? Not to mention the subscription, because of course they're never going to sell it to you outright because you don't even own it. Which, by the way, speaking of ownership, I guess the lack thereof, is just a PTA that Verizon can suck my dick. So I got a hold of an old Pixel 2, and I wanted to try my hand at rooting it, which, again, if you're not a computer person, essentially means just getting root access to your phone. Because ironically, whether you know this or not, you don't actually own your phone or computer, I guess, unless you run Linux. But like on Mac and Windows or Android and iOS, it's not your phone. Like, you don't have root access to it. So you have to go through a process called rooting where you get root access to it. And then you can flash a new bootloader on there, flash a new OS, and essentially make it your phone to do what you want. So it's an old defunct Pixel 2 that's, the person didn't use anymore. And I was trying to root it so that I could install like a different OS on it. And Verizon, for basically, because they're douchebags, essentially anytime they touch any kind of phone, they more or less like lock it. So they have like this phone home sequence that blocks you from unlocking the bootloader, even if there's no SIM card installed. You're not even a Verizon customer. You've never been a Verizon customer. The phone you got off the secondhand market. More or less, they're doing all of this to stop people from buying secondhand market phones and rooting them and then using them, as iPods, using them as secondary phones, or just basically reusing something. So more or less, it's essentially like if you bought a plastic bag and the plastic bag incinerated itself after you used it the first time. Like, it wouldn't even let you use that. So they're contributing to e-waste because there's a perfectly good, 4 gigabytes of RAM and a 2-core processor, and whatever else is in that 64 gigabyte flash memory. That's all in the phone and could be used for something. I could run a little mini server off that. There's plenty of things. There's plenty of ideas I have on what I could do with an old phone. And I was trying to actualize one of those, and I got stuck because Verizon essentially does not let you unlock the bootloader. So fuck Verizon for that. There was a hacky workaround where I got the Android OS to say that it was unlocked temporarily, but then when I tried actually unflashing the bootloader, it didn't work. So the hacky workaround worked for a second, I guess, but it wouldn't let me just get the bootloader off. So fuck Verizon, because it's like the companies, I'm sure, is also talking about how great they are at saving waste and things like that. But also, the other part that angers me is it would take additional development effort to go through with doing this. It's not like it was like they have to do extra effort to make sure it's unlockable. No, they've added extra steps for themselves. They've added more work for themselves to pay developers to make sure that you can't unlock the phone after it's reached its end of market. So it has to become obsolete. Whereas you could have just, again, left it alone and not fucked with it, and you could have, it would have been less work for you to do so. But they went through the effort of having more work, knowing that they would force a certain number of people to buy new phones, or essentially making it obsolete, and again, contributing to e-waste in my view. So fuck Verizon. That's all I have to say on that. So the other thing about working just with tech, and this applies to tech people that I interact with enough to be frustrated with and to rant about constantly, is there's a sentiment that it's okay, people that work at the tech companies aren't, it's not them who are at fault, because and it's not. I've been accused before of blaming people that work there. It's as if they're the problem specifically. If you're a low level, front end engineer at Google or something, as if it's your fault that Google does all this horrible shit, which I realize it's not. Most of it, if all of it, is completely out of your hands. There's probably only a few decision makers that are really at fault for doing this. And that being said, so most of the people that work at the tech companies or Google or insert whatever company it is aren't bad people. They're good people that, again, are just kind of in a bad system. But in the same vein, I think this is kind of where the jump in logic comes in. There are also plenty of, I would think, otherwise hardworking and good people that work for the cartel or the mob, right? But it's the organization themselves that is bad and they shouldn't be working for. And most of them are just doing what they can for their family and utilizing the skill set they have to make money in whatever way is possible for them. So in the case of the Google worker, it's, but the idea that there's some fundamental difference in you're good if you work for Google because it's a publicly traded company, and you're bad if you work for the cartel because they sell drugs or something. But like you can make the same argument, like, well, the cartel makes drugs cheaper by having a black market for things and giving more access to benzos for people who need it. So pharmaceutical company doesn't have a monopoly on that. Whereas Google is somehow seen as like the right person because they're a big company and they pay the engineers get massage chairs or something. You're still evil, in my opinion. You're still doing bad work. You're still working for a horrible company. Same as you would for the mob. I can still think you're an okay person. But you're working for a company whose ends are evil. And so I don't functionally think there's that much of a difference between being a low level engineer at Google, and building missiles or whatever, or building autonomous systems for missiles. I guess the missiles would be like Lockheed Martin or something, or being again like a drug mule for the cartel. It's not like they're both doing bad things, and they're both involved, kind of, they're both victims of their circumstance, I suppose. But I argue that, probably the people that worked at Google have more options. They don't have to be selling their soul away to, blow up people in Ukraine or whatever it is that, the missile systems are doing. You'd also have to be a drug mule for the cartel, but I just don't think there's that much of a difference between them. Like, in my eyes, they're both kind of, they're both innocent in the sense that it's like they themselves aren't the ones doing the bad things, but they're also kind of contributing to the existence of a horrible thing by being involved in it in the first place. So the advice if you were involved with the cartel would be like, all right, well, find some way to get out of there. Would be the same advice I give to someone who works, at a big tech company who's doing horrible things. Like Verizon, for example. Just find some way to get out of there. Maybe take a cell tower down with you, or at least maybe give me some unlock code so I can, use an old phone for something, instead of it turning into a literal brick, which is complete bullshit. But I don't know. I just thought it was worth me drawing the parallel between people that work at Google and cartel workers, because I think there truly isn't that much of a difference. All right. This is the other kind of a high level philosophical question that I do like to wrestle with, or at least think about, is what is the product of your life, and what is it? What would you like it to be, and what is it, or what can it be? I guess nothing is a fair answer. You don't have to make anything. In most cases, people just end up producing children, which is fine too. But there's other things that you can produce with your life, that are, I would say, are again more artifacts of your existence. So other examples would be like a book, or a business, or a code base of some kind that is probably going to go obsolete. So and the thing with these pieces of, like, these artifacts of your life, I suppose, is longevity is something to consider. So in the case of a book, the longevity of that is pretty high, given our ability to archive things. I suppose unless there's some nuclear Armageddon, then it really wouldn't matter what you'd make. The child is another thing to produce that, again, which does have its longevity benefits, but you also don't really know what you're making with that. You could also be, Hitler's parents had that was their addition to the world, and that didn't work out for a lot of people. So people are probably upset at them for that. So you run some risk in bringing a child into the world, and that's a risk that many people are willing to take, and that's totally understandable. A book is a little less, problematic, I would say. A code base of some kind, or a business. A business is another, like, decent one. I do like to see like restaurants and repair shops and kind of more craftsman-esque businesses passed down, and that kind of would be where I would lean towards in my life, is building some kind of, like, healthy business to create. But then again, you also don't know, the longevity is kind of in the hands of, in many cases, your children as well. So you don't really know what ends up happening with that. And also the other thing with businesses is you also run the risk of it becoming, something like Google, where you kind of twisted back on your initial philosophies of doing right for the world, or adding something good, and now you're actively harmful, and people have to make their lives work to dismantle your work, which is I guess can be the work of many, to their dismay. But it is interesting, and I think it's worth thinking about what you want the product of your life to be. And I do think it's a little wrong to live a life without producing anything at all. Even if it is a bad child, at least it's like something. But I think kind of opposing production of any kind, or just not making it some kind of focus or not making it a priority to put something into the world that, again, you think is better than it was when you arrived in it. I think that is kind of, what I'd say is like the anti-golden rule. It's like kind of the wrong thing, the wrong way to live, would be to just extract from the world and never really produce anything. Even if it is a really, really bad book, I mean, at least there's like something to be said about you trying to write and like you being a terrible writer. Now, again, I would probably shit on you for just not taking pride in your work, because that's another thing. It's like, I don't know. It's like you can have ChatGPT write a book and then like sell 10 copies and be an author. But like, fuck you, because like you obviously, like, that you did not try. And that was not like you taking pride in your work. And I guess some people are just incapable of understanding what taking pride in their work is, or like what I'll say is just like an honest effort. You know what I mean? Like people just like, maybe they're just so used to being lazy, which again, I empathize with. I think I am a lazy person in general. I don't like doing like, I mean, I enjoy some amount of grinding, because you could say that like the shit I do in this world is very grindy and boring. But in general, I don't like, I don't know, I'm not someone who's working 40 hours a day and loves just, staying up all night doing bullshit. I'll do that occasionally if I'm really interested in something, but in general, I consider myself lazy. But that being said, I still have a modicum of what is me, honest to God, trying on something, and taking 5 minutes and putting it into ChatGPT or something and calling it a book, or, selling a sheet of paper to my mom and calling myself an author is laughing in the face of what pride should be. So I do think whatever it is that you do bring in the world, you need to actually, it needs to be something you genuinely take pride in. Otherwise, I think you will suffer the consequences for it. And I've thought about this a little bit, and maybe it's just like a weird like psychological trick that we play on ourselves. But in a lot of ways, I think if you think hard enough, or at least I guess, you've accepted a certain amount of humility, you kind of think that you did get what you deserve, if not like you got more than you deserve in some sense. Because I look back on like the things that have happened in my life, like the good and bad, and like those things. And no matter what, I can almost always definitively say that like I deserve all the bad things that I've gotten. And if not, I even gotten more good things than I deserved. Meaning that like I'm almost spoiled in that sense, where I got more than I deserved. It'd be hard. I mean, maybe there probably are cases of this where it's easy to say that like you don't get what you deserve, or people got like less than they deserve or something. Um, but I do think in general, in cases when people are, I guess, privileged enough to even be thinking about something like this, I think it is easy to think that people do get what they deserve, and it's hard to know whether they do or not. I think only they do. So like even if you are on the outside a really nice person, but you hid being a pedophile or something for you. We've seen this 1,000 times. It's like people are still surprised that like somebody was cheating on their wife, or is a total piece of shit, or is a narcissist. But on the outside they got everything good that came to them. I do think there is kind of this element of karma. And if you're at peace enough with, I guess if you're zen enough in that sense, with like the unfairness of the world, you can kind of see it. No matter what, you can see it as, I deserve what happened to me, good and bad. Like it seems like my life worked out in a way that I would expect. It's also not even productive to be like upset that like I didn't get what I deserve, and like who knows really what you do deserve, in a sense. Like, do you even deserve to be alive in the first place? So like you having life at all might be more than you deserve at all, like period. So who are you to say that you got less than you deserve, right? It's like, well, I worked harder than that person, and that person got more than me. It's like, well, then that person certainly got much, much more than they deserved, but that doesn't mean that you got, less than you deserved. I think that's kind of bad logic. But I think if you look hard enough and you are, I guess, at peace enough with what you have and what you've been given, and also what's been taken from you, I think it's fair to arrive sometimes at a conclusion that it is, you do get what you deserve in some sense. Whether you truly do or not, I don't really. Who's to say who deserves what? Do any of us deserve life in the first place? I don't know. It certainly feels like some kind of a gift in some sense to me. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but it certainly feels a little fortunate to have given life at all. Much less the fortunate circumstances, and the unfortunate ones that I haven't given. But I feel like every bad thing that has happened to me, I could say, through some roundabout way of logic, that I deserved it. Even if it is something like, if it's not like, A for B, it's like I got brain cancer because you know, I don't know, stole a candy bar or something like that. It's like, okay, well, that's probably a bit of a jump, but like in the same sense, it's like, who's to know what, I guess how karma really works in that sense. Not that I'm a firm believer in that kind of karma, but I do think it's helpful to have some amount of reciprocity with the world, because I do think it allows you to live with more peace with what you have, and not be as arrogant or as spoiled in what you've been given. I guess compared to the alternatives. So anyway, um, I guess this is another stupid. This is a really stupid opinion, but I'm gonna share it anyway. If you're one of these idiot scam artists, that I guess I'm not sure if you'd be watching this from Nigeria or India, wherever the call centers are, 'cause that's where the majority of them are. It's not being racist. That's just kind of statistically true. Um, or if you're just sending out like fake texts and emails, why bother? Especially if it's a foreign name and you're emailing a bunch of rich Americans that you think you're going to scam their money out of. Why are you using your real name? It's like it doesn't. The smart ones have at least caught on and like pretend to be John or like Connor or something like that, when like they're obviously not from this country, America that is, and trying to like sell bullshit to somebody. But like, especially in an email, like you're not doing yourself any favors by sending a bunch of American people names that they obviously can't pronounce. And like, that sounds racist, but the non-racist view of this would be like, you're making the assumption that these people are emailing a bunch of people from their own, like they're not emailing like a bunch of American businesses. Then why are they emailing them in English, right? And like, and like control effing, or like finding like the little regular expression to substitute in like the location that I'm in, or that they think that I'm in. I'm obviously not there. But like, at least go through this is what I'm talking about, like with pride with your work. Even if you work in the cartel or you are a scammer, take pride in the work and think about why would you use your name? Don't use a fake name, and use a name that is going to actually draw in this American to give you a bunch of money. Don't I'm not going to say a bunch of racist names here, but I totally could. Why would you use those names? You're just never going to get any. You're going to get horrible bounce rates on all this stuff. No one's going to respond to that. If you're emailing people from Alabama, and your name is obviously not John, or a biblical name, I would look them up. I'd use only biblical names if you're emailing anybody south of Massachusetts, for God's sakes. I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're not taking pride in their work, right? And it's full of like, misspells and stuff like that, especially with how advanced a lot of the, even low end computers can do with spell check and AI. You should not be making spelling errors, and using crappy names and have bad salutations on your scam emails. That being said, go to hell for writing spam emails in the first place. The amount of emails that I get that are just complete garbage, absolutely drive me nuts. And I won't even specify what I would do to people if I found out that if those are the people that were sending me those things, I would do very bad things to people that do that. As I just think you're just a complete drain on, like, there's nothing more, besides like working at a toll booth, which I've argued about before. There isn't really anything else that you could argue is more pointless than like just like trying to milk people and scamming them out of their retirements, Whereas like that whole argument of like, your grandma getting scammed out of her retirement is good for the economy because it's boosting GDP, because the money is going out of her, escrow or her, Roth IRA account and into the pocket of somebody, a scammer who's, presumably going to buy a Mustang or something, or a house or whatever. That's good for the economy. But like, nobody could argue that that is a moral good. So obviously what's good for the economy and what's morally good are mutually exclusive things and are not, one and the same. So because as much as you're able, stop working at the cartel, stop doing bullshit, immoral things just to boost GDP. And I guess if you're not convincing with your real name, don't use it. Use a fake one. There's plenty of good ones. John's always a good one. All right. What else do I have? Anything else to finish up here? Oh yeah, this is the last opinion I have. This also is an opinion. I think I'm gonna die, and that I don't mean like I'm gonna die like at some point. I know that at some point that I will die. I'm not doubting that, but I feel as if my death in some way will be premature. Maybe I'm dying right now. Actually, I've had a bunch of very strange and odd symptoms over the last few months, and it just wouldn't shock me if I just keel over at some point. And again, it's just like maybe it's a weird like some underlying weird anxiety about, sickness of some kind, but my body is being very strange and I'm not really sure what to do about it. And it could be the end of me. But I just want to put that out there, not to actualize it, but simply to cover my bases and to also just feel better about not repeating that over my head. Now that I've said that, I don't have to think about it that often because I've already said it. And if I do die, I'm right. Otherwise, I can stop thinking about it and go on living. But if I do die soon, and I'm not sure how you'll know, maybe someone will post on my channel for me, but I will have called it and I'll be right. And that will be fun for me, I guess, to be dead and right, as opposed to being alive and wrong, which is the way I'd prefer things. I'm not asking to die. Maybe I could have some kind of terminal illness. I don't know. Anyway, I'll leave it off there on a good note. So, yeah, thanks for watching and peace out.